put the Jergens away because it is No Nut November in July. We are going to be talking about 5 bust-proof players that you must draft in 2023 fantasy football. I'm going to be going in depth into 5 players that I believe are going to have zilch chance to be busts in 2023 fantasy football. But before we can get on into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. So without further ado, let's get into 5 bust-proof players that you must draft in 2023 fantasy football. We begin with my first bust-proof player for the 2023 fantasy football season, Tony Pollard, running back of the Dallas Cowboys, underdog ADP running back 6 at pick 20.3. Now, right now, there is still the looming possibility that the Dallas Cowboys end up bringing Ezekiel Elliott back to the Cowboys, or they end up bringing in another running back like Leonard Fournette. But the thing about Tony Pollard and why I have moved him up my rankings and why I am now feeling as though Tony Pollard is a must-draft running back in fantasy football is because of the contract situation. Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley are threatening to potentially hold out because of the franchise tag, because they don't want to be ran directly into the dirt and not get anything to show for it, have to go to a different team, have to negotiate a different contract after that. Tony Pollard is in the same boat. He is playing on the franchise tag this year, except there is no talk of obviously having that holdout. He already John Hancock the franchise tag, so Tony Pollard is going to be the guy, and we all know that what happens to these franchise tagged players is that the team runs them into the dirt, and I believe Tony Pollard is going to be given so many touches game in and game out for the Dallas Cowboys. He is the running back 7.5 PPR last season and the running back 9.5 PPR points per game, and he didn't even start all the games because if you guys remember, Ezekiel Elliott, for some crazy reason, despite the fact that he was efficient, right? Tony Pollard was uber efficient last season. 4.7 true yards per carry, 13th at running back. 5.9 yards per touch, 5th at running back. 8.8% breakaway run rate, 4th at running back, and 6.9. Very nice. Average defenders in the box, 8th at running back. And even with all of the defenders in the box, Tony Pollard was feasting like Ezekiel Elliott does when he sees some cake, because he's a fat boy. 16 games played for Tony Pollard last season with 4 starts. 193 carries, 12.1 per game, number 23, 1,007 rushing yards, 69.2 per game, number 15, 55 targets, 16th, 39 receptions, 17th, 371 receiving yards, 12th, and 12 total touchdowns, number 6 at running back. This is a Dallas Cowboys offense that is going to be giving the ball a ton to Tony Pollard. I think even without the franchise tag situation, Tony Pollard was probably going to have a huge season, but now that he's playing on the franchise tag, I believe Mike McCarthy is going to run this guy into the dirt. I think Tony Pollard is an excellent pass catcher, and I think, unlike what we saw last season with their offensive coordinator, who looks like he's 12 years old, Kellen Moore. I know I kind of look like I'm 12 years old as well, but Kellen Moore, the 12-year-old offensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys, is gone. See you later, pal. We all know Kellen Moore doesn't like to kind of draw up some pass catching opportunities for the running back. I believe under their new offensive coordinator that they are going to give more opportunity for Tony Pollard to catch passes. Again, even if they bring in Uncle Lenny or Ezekiel Elliott, I still have a very strong belief that Tony Pollard is going to see so many touches in this offense. I think this offense is going to be pretty solid yet again, and that makes Tony Pollard a sought upon option towards the end of the second round of fantasy football drafts. Moving to my number 2 bust-proof player, we got Terry McLaurin of the Left Hands Up. Who are we? The Commanders? Wide receiver of the Commanders that just sold. They finally got Dan Schneider the fuck out of there. Now, they're talking about maybe changing the name again, and interesting enough, Dan Schneider actually changed the name of the team more times than he had playoff wins. 3 different names, the Redskins, the football team, and the Commanders, and 2 playoff wins. Pretty hilarious over his tenure. Underdog ADP wide receiver 24 at pick 44.6. Now, I have been someone that has been suckered in, baited in to drafting Terry McLaurin every single year because what you see on the field is always amazing. It is mouthwatering. It is salivating. It makes you salivate. But the problem is the quarterback situation has been a complete and utter unmitigated fucking disaster year in and year out for Terry McLaurin. Entering this year, you might say it's no different, right? They have Sam Howell, they have Jacoby Brissett, but ultimately, I feel a little bit more confident in those two compared to Taylor Heineke and Carson Wentz from last season. Last year, McLaurin was the wide receiver 14.5 PPR and the wide receiver 22.5 PPR points per game, tied with Magic Mike Williams of the Chargers. 17 games played in 2022, 120 targets, 7.1 per game, number 19 at wide receiver, 77 receptions, 4.5 per game, number 21. Can you do something to me? 1,191 receiving yards, 70.1 per game, number 9, and 5 total touchdowns, 29th at wide receiver. Again, the quarterback position has never once for Terry McLaurin been any good, right? He's had to deal with complete and utter fucking scrubs throwing him the rock. 7.1 target accuracy last season, 61st at wide receiver, yet he was still top 12 in yards per target, 9.9 yards per target 7th, and 15.5 yards per reception 11th. As long as the ball gets in the radius of Terry McLaurin, the guy is going to bring it in and make the catch. I believe Terry McLaurin is a bust-proof player because we've already seen a circus of quarterbacks, a myriad of quarterbacks playing for Terry McLaurin, and the guy just prints top 24 wide receiver season. So coming off the board as the wide receiver 24, he is incredibly safe while also having the upside of maybe Sam Howell is the second coming of Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But maybe Sam Howell is just not fucking awful. Maybe Sam Howell is like the 18th best quarterback, smack dab close to the middle of NFL quarterbacks, then Terry McLaurin has the upside to go directly to the moon. This is a guy I always feel confident in, and I feel very safe drafting him yet again in 2023. Again, he's a super safe pick with the upside of maybe Sam Howell, or if they go to Jacoby Brissett, are able to make this offense look a little bit better than last year. Also, you have the addition of the fact that Eric Bieniemy is now the offensive coordinator of the Washington Commanders, and maybe that just helps the offense be a little bit more fruitful. Maybe they score more points than they did last season. Moving to my number 3 bust-proof player, we have Diontae Johnson, wide receiver of the Pittsburgh Steelers, underdog ADP, wide receiver 29 at pick 56.3. Diontae Johnson has been screaming up draft boards as of recently. A couple of months ago, him and George Pickens were going back-to-back Michael Jordan 96, 97, and a lot of these underdog drafts, a lot of mock drafts I was doing, but more recently, George Pickens is free-falling down the board, and Diontae Johnson is rising at a rapid rate like your cock once you take some Viagra. Wide receiver 39.5 PPR, wide receiver 52.5 PPR points per game last season. Diontae played in 17 games, finishing top 12 in 2 of the more important categories, or top 13, I should say, in 2 of the most important categories for wide receivers. 147 targets, 8.6 per game. Number 6, 86 receptions, 5.1 per game. Number 13. The problem was he only had 882 receiving yards, 51.9 per game. Number 27 at wide receiver, and he put up a donut. 0, zilch touchdowns. No touchdowns last season for Diontae Johnson. Now, if you go back, do a deep dive like your name's fucking Michael Phelps at the Olympics, you can go ahead and figure out that that is a severe outlier in his career. If you look at Deebo Samuel, he had one great year in terms of touchdowns in 2021, but outside of that, we haven't seen the crazy touchdown production. Diontae Johnson had the exact opposite happened in 2022. He scored in 2019, 16 games played, 5 touchdowns. 2020, 15 games played, 7 touchdowns. 2021, 16 games played, 8 touchdowns. So his touchdowns went up every single year from 2019 to 2021. The outlier was 2022, where he scored 0 touchdowns. Now, Diontae Johnson does still have a case of the dropsies, the fingers, whatever the fuck you want to call it. 9 drops last year, number 2 at wide receiver. Not a great look, right? No one's ecstatic about Diontae Johnson because he has the best hands on earth, but we know he is in an offense that wants to funnel the ball down his throat. They want to feed Diontae Johnson the rock. I know George Pickens is there. He makes the cool catches. He makes the fucking house of highlights on Twitter and Instagram, but Diontae Johnson's the one getting all of these throws. He's like Michael Thomas, the slant man himself. But the problem was he didn't score any touchdowns and the receiving yards were low last season. Kenny Pickett and Kissin' Titties Mitchell Trubisky were not it last season. Kenny Pickett, small hands, man, his rookie year was a disaster on paper. You watched the games, you saw the positives, you saw when he tried to run over a Bills player, you saw the positives, but on paper, there was a lot of negatives. There was a lot of interceptions. There was a lot of games where he was looking like Mason Rudolph after Myles Garrett smacked him upside the head with his helmet. So there was some very bad games for Kenny Pickett. Everything went wrong. But I think in the second year of Kenny Pickett, he's going to get better. It's hard to be worse. The offensive line last year, not that great. Really fucking bad, actually. Hard to be worse than that with what they added. Diontae Johnson last year, again, 875 unrealized air yards, second at wide receiver. So if the ball is more accurate coming his way, if he gets some better targets, Kenny Pickett worked on it all in the summer, he's throwing the ball better, more accurate, then Diontae Johnson has the chance to feast. 250 total route wins, 11th at wide receiver, with a 15.1% juke rate, number 4 at wide receiver. I feel so strongly that Diontae Johnson won't bust, despite the fact that he busted last year for fantasy football because of the sheer amount of volume he is going to get. I feel so confident that it won't be 0 touchdowns. It could be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 touchdowns this season. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are a team that is going to bounce back. Now, they're in a division that's tough. They are in a division that is tough as nails. This is no Weenie Hut Juniors, right? They have these teams that look incredibly good, but I still think the Pittsburgh Steelers, while they might not make the playoffs, they're going to be a team contending for the playoffs. They're going to be a solid team next season. I expect Pickett to take that next step up. I expect Diontae Johnson to be in the same role, just getting more receiving yards, getting similar targets, similar receptions, hopefully 100 receptions, but don't even need that if you're getting all the targets. As long as you get some receiving yards, some touchdowns, you're going to finish close to being a top 12 wide receiver potentially. The top 12 at the wide receiver position is loaded, so it's hard to rank Diontae Johnson that high, but it's very evident that the upside is there, and it's very evident that the safety is there, in my opinion, with Diontae Johnson. Before we move on into bust-proof players number 4 and number 5, I would like to give you guys a quick word for our friends and our sponsor over at Underdog Fantasy. If you're new to Underdog Fantasy, they're the best place to play best ball fantasy football this summer. If you don't know what best ball is, it's the best part about fantasy football. It's the draft, and that's it. There's no waivers, there's no trades, and there's no in-season management. You don't have to edit your lineup because at the end of every single week, Underdog automatically optimizes your lineup to throw the highest scores into your lineup. They have the biggest fantasy football contest ever. Best Ball Mania 4, $25 to enter, 150 max entries, $3 million to first place, $15 million in total prizes. If that sounds a little too expensive for you, if you're someone who is new to Best Ball and you're signing up using my code down below, that's perfectly fine. They are going to have contests that are $3 to enter, $5 to enter, and they even have cash games. You versus 11 other people. It's like a typical 12-team league. The first 2 places make money, with the low-end buy-ins being $3. It's a good way to practice for your 2023 fantasy football draft. So if you're new and you want to sign up on there, please use promo code Notorious or click on the link in the video description for a first match deposit bonus of up to $100. If you deposit $100, you get an additional 150, an additional 50, 25, an additional 25. Make sure you guys do check that again. Link in the video description. Back onto the video. My bust-proof player number 4 is T-Law. Trevor Lawrence, quarterback of the Jacksonville Jaguars, underdog ADP, quarterback 8, pick 66.6, 8, quarterback number 7. Last year, I apologize, quarterback 13 in PPR points per game. He played in 17 games last season. Shout out to T-Law. T-Law was in my winning DFS lineup last year where I won 5 racks, 5,000. So I love you, Trevor Lawrence. That was the game where, if you don't remember, I don't even remember who the hell they were playing. It was a really good game. Trevor Lawrence gets hit, and it's like, oh no, he's not moving. He has been destroyed. He might be done for the season, I'm thinking. And then, in the second half, this guy rises and just comes out and has a great game. Shout out to my boy Trevor Lawrence, but there's no bias here. I really think quarterback number 8 for Trevor Lawrence is his floor. He is in an offense that is loaded to the fucking gills. Calvin Ridley, even if you don't believe in Calvin Ridley, he's still a good receiver. They have Christian Kirk. They have Zay Jones. They have my boy Easy Evan Ingram. They have Travis Etienne, and they have Tank Bigsby. They have a loaded offense where Trevor Lawrence is going to be given a lot of opportunity. I know early on in his career with Urban Meyer, that dumb bastard, Trevor Lawrence wasn't the best, but last year under Doug Peterson, the pendulum shifted. Trevor Lawrence looked like that quarterback that people were comparing to Andrew Luck, comparing to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL ever, entering the 2021 NFL draft, or whichever fucking year he got drafted, right? You guys remember, everyone was talking him up. He's the second coming of Andrew Luck. He's the next Peyton Manning. He's this, he's that. And you know what? Maybe it ends up being true. He looked really good last year. Again, the influence of Urban Meyer was like stiff arm down, and things looked a lot better under Doug Peterson. 17 games played in 2022 for Trevor Lawrence. He was 7th in pass attempts with 584, which is 34.4 per game, number 7. 4,113 passing yards, 241.9 per game, number 9. 25 passing touchdowns at a 4.3% rate, number 8 at quarterback. Now, the passing touchdown rate is important. I have talked about this a bunch. To summarize, too long didn't read version is passing touchdown rate. If it's around the number 5, that is average, especially if you're a good quarterback. Trevor Lawrence is good, so the fact that he only had a 4.3% passing touchdown rate tells me that I think that rate's going to get closer to 4.9, 5, maybe 5.5 if he has a really good season, and I think Trevor Lawrence is going to throw more passing touchdowns in 2023 compared to 2022. That is both the fact that I think Lawrence is going to continue to get better, the offense is going to get better, as well as the fact that they added Calvin Ridley. 8 interceptions, 20th at quarterback, and Trevor Lawrence is also sneaky good at rushing. Now, he's not Mike Vick, he's not Jalen Hurts, he's not Lamar Jackson, he's not any of these Justin Fields, right? He's not gonna just run around like a chicken with his head cut off and Rocky's trying to chase him and run directly into the end zone, Kyler Murray style, but he does have some rushing upside. 62 carries, 10th, 291 rushing yards, 10th, 5 rushing touchdowns, 5th. Like, he's kind of, to me, like Dak Prescott early on in his career, right? You're not going to just see him run all the time, but if he does run, they get close to the goal line, like he could dive on in there, right? He can score some touchdowns rushing. In terms of efficiency, he was 6th in true passer rating, 15th in QBR, 9th in accuracy rating, and 6th in drop passes, which is another thing I think Calvin Ridley is going to help this offense out with. Again, I view Trevor Lawrence as incredibly safe because quarterback 8 to me seems like his floor. Seems like if Trevor Lawrence doesn't get much better, he's probably going to finish as a top 8 quarterback. Again, he doesn't have that rushing upside to probably finish number 1 at quarterback, but you could still see him finishing top 5, top 3 at the quarterback position. So I'm very excited about Trevor Lawrence. I am all in on this Jacksonville Jaguars offense this season, and I'm excited to see what touchdown Jesus Trevor Lawrence T-Law does this year. Final guy here, bust-proof player, Jordan Addison Ray. I want a bad bitch. Jordan Addison Ray, wide receiver of the Minnesota Vikings, underdog ADP, wide receiver 37 at pick 73.1. Now, the only way that Jordan Addison is busting in fantasy football this season is if he gets caught driving 155 miles an hour again. Bro thinks he's Lightning McQueen, thinks he's fucking Dale Earnhardt Jr., thinks he's the Will Ferrell in whatever the hell that movie's called, Talladega Nights. That's what he thinks. He thinks he's Ricky Bobby, right? What is he doing? Why are you driving 155 miles an hour at 3 in the morning? What the hell are you doing? You're a rookie. I get it. If I was 21 and I had all this money, I had a Lamborghini, I'd probably be doing the same thing. But I'm not that rich. I'm not 21 anymore. I'm 24. I'm old as fuck. Why? Don't do that, Jordan. Do not do that. Now, nothing's going to happen to him. He's not going to get suspended. He somehow got like a misdemeanor. He didn't get arrested or anything. So he'll be just fine. But to me, the only worry is maybe early on the Vikings just right now, they're like, what's wrong with you? Like, can I trust you? This, that, and the other thing. But I think very quickly we're going to learn. And it's going to be very clear that Addison's the number 2 receiver on the team because obviously Adam Thielen is gone. I know there are some KJ Osborne truthers, but KJ Osborne can't hold Jordan Addison's jockstrap. Remember, last season, Adam Thielen ran 621 routes in 2022, which is 36.5 routes per game, ranking 2nd at wide receiver. This is a team that in the past was a lot more run heavy. Churn the rock, run the rock. Don't let bubble wrap Kirk Cousins. Don't let Kirk Cousins, the new nightmare, fuck everything up. But last year, under the new head coach Kevin O'Connell, they realized, hey, let's throw the ball more, put the pedal to the metal, and that was great for Justin Jefferson. Not so great for Thielen because he just kind of didn't look the same. But Thielen had a 7.9 target accuracy rating, which kind of beats down the Kirk Cousins sucks ass narrative. Addison, first round draft pick. Not the biggest guy on earth, 5'11", he's taller than me. I'm only 5'10", 173 pounds. But I think with how good the Vikings offense looked last year and how dog shit their defense is, they're going to continue to have to throw the ball a bunch. And this is a pristine landing spot for Jordan Addison. 11 games played in 2022 at USC at 20 years old. 49 receptions on 84 targets. 875 receiving yards. 14.8 yards per reception. 8 receiving touchdowns. 70.2% catch rate. 16.3% target share. Obviously, the elephant in the room, Nick, Justin Jefferson is there, so I don't think Jordan Addison can succeed when they have such a monster wide receiver like Justin Jefferson there. Sure, but you can also look at the positives that gives. Jordan Addison will never have to face the number one receiver. You will never have to worry about going up against a guy like Marshawn Lattimore, going up against the PI machine that they never call the holding machine, Sauce Gardner. He'll never have to go against Jalen Ramsey. I don't even know which teams the Vikings play this season, but I was just naming some of the best corners in the NFL. Surtain. Right? He's never going to have to go up against those guys because that's who Justin Jefferson will be on, like white on rye. So I fully expect, or white on rice, is that the analogy? I don't know. Like butter on bread. That's a better one there. But Jordan Addison is in the best position possible for him to succeed. As long as, again, he doesn't try to turn into Dom Toretto from Fast and Furious. He's going to be just fine. And he has, maybe not top 12 upside because, Justin Jefferson's there. But he's going to have some top 12 games potentially. He's going to run a lot of routes. That makes him very safe. So let me know down below in the comment section what you think about these 5 guys. And we ain't talking burgers and fries. Tony Pollard, Terry McLaurin, Diontae Johnson, Trevor Lawrence, and Jordan Addison Ray. What do you think about them? Do you like them? Do you hate them? Let me know in the comments section. Are you with me that they're bust proof, or do you think these guys look like big, fat busts? Thank you guys all so much for watching. I love you guys all so much. I hope you have a great rest of your guys' day. If you did end up enjoying, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Love you all. Hope you have a good one. As always, August is coming soon. As you guys know, in August, we start to ramp up the content even more. I am going to be on vacation early August, but I'm probably going to just record in advance 2 videos every single day. I love you guys all so much. Let's win your fantasy championship. Underdog Fantasy, link in the video description. Goodbye!